You are listening to Hard House History with Paul Glazby.
Nik Denton, welcome to Hard House History.
Mr. Glazby, how are you?
I'm very well, thank you. Yeah, it's been a long time.
It has been a long time. I didn't sleep very well last night. I was like thinking about today mostly, but also my body clock because I work a lot of late. It's kind of quite hard going to bed at a sensible time to get up early like this in the morning. So yeah,
Right, yeah.
I couldn't remember the last time I've seen you or the last time I saw you. And I still don't know. I know. I mean, probably over a good 10, 15 years ago about that, I would imagine.
Were you at that night when there was a night where Ben Amponza had been down to London with me and Kate? I was still with Kate at the time, and we'd been to London, and the window had broken on my car, and then we all went back to Manchester, and we went to Ben's, and everyone like had this crack on, and I'd not done anything in years,
Right.
and I'm sure you were there. I think you turned up like on the Sunday afternoon or something. Does that ring a?
Well, that sounds very familiar as the norm back then. If I'm honest, I can't quite remember that, but
Because I'm sure you were there because, like, for me, when I like back in the day, I could have whatever I wanted, and people would be like, "Oh, have you had anything tonight?" And I'd just be like, be wrecked, but I never looked it. And then but then because I got into personal training and I'd like moved away from all like years before, and then yeah, we went down to London, and as we were driving in, I'd got a gig, and as we were driving into London, Ben, he went to throw something out the window, he put the window down, but then the it turned out the little plastic sort of cog thing inside the door had broken. So when he went to put the window up, it 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 didn't. So then when we got to the club,
right, okay, so you have to leave your car with the window open.
well, we obviously in the middle of London, you can't do that. So Kate and Ben stayed with the car, and I went in and played. And there was I can't remember who it was. There's a couple that were in there that knew Kate. So and this club was like serving cups of tea and hot chocolate and stuff. I can't remember what club it was. It was like upstairs somewhere. But anyway, they went down with cups of tea and they sat with Kate and Ben in the car while I'm playing. And then when we got back, we had to try and patch the window. So we went to the services and patched the window up. And then as we got on the motorway, as soon as we got to like 70 miles an hour, it just all ripped off again. So we ended up putting the parcel shelf, the parcel shelf bit in the boot. We took that and Ben just sat holding it. And Kate was in the back under these blankets all the way back to Manchester. And we got to about probably an hour away from Manchester. And Ben it's like snaps this pill in half and just like went like that and looked at me and I just went, okay.
Well,
And then
it sounds like it's well deserved. I've got a similar kind of story. I drove to there was a club night, hard house night. You might have played there, Cheeky Little Monkey in Bournemouth.
yeah.
And I think I'd moved to Manchester, drove down to Southampton, and then a group of us, I'm sure Paul King was there, and little Miss Natalie, if you remember her. But I just bought a brand new car in back at say at Ibiza, and on the way back from Cheeky Little Monkey, unfortunately hit a fox on the way home. But yeah, we had only just I'd done my gig, and we were like almost back to Southampton, and decided to do something similar. And then I hit this fox, and it kind of like, I think because in the moment we were like, enjoying it, we had a good night out, thought it was all fun and games. And then when we got back to the other end, a little bit sparkly, let's say, got out the car and literally the whole front of my new car was gone. Like say I like like an engine on wheels, and I was like, what the hell? And then yeah, everyone went in and I had to basically, stand and wait for, like, it was just, I stood looking at my car thinking, what on earth? Anyway, I called my dad, I had to wait for my dad to come around. I was just like, a little bit squiffy, and yeah, similar story. And then anyway, once my dad took the car, that was it, straight in the party, and forgot about it for a few hours.
yeah. Well, that night we took the car to Kate's and we pulled the car right up to the wall. So no, I mean, no one had even seen that the window had gone, but they wouldn't be able to get in. And then we went to Ben's in Ben's car. And then because, like I said, I'd not been doing anything for years, and it was the first time in my life I kept sort of coming to, and I'm sure I remember you being there, just standing, looking over me, going, "Are you all right?" And for the first time ever,
Potentially, I mean, if we're talking like, 2010-ish, I would imagine, um,
well,
around
it would have been earlier than that. It would have been 2007.
right, okay. Well, yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I was a lot younger then and probably was a little bit twisted myself. So I probably was. I know that, when you were with Kate, we kind of saw each other quite a lot, but
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
that night, I can't, um, uh, agree or deny.
Mm. Well, I guess Crack-On's in Manchester just all blur into one after a while. Is
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I've been here since 2001. I did move away a little bit around COVID time, but yeah, it's unbelievable. How quickly time goes, but yeah, how it all just blends into one. Um, but before speaking to you, I was looking back at all of the nights that I've done here with Kate. The coalition nights that we used to do. And you're probably the same. When you look back at everything, I can't, it's quite hard for me to kind of pull out those individual nights. It does all just seem to be just one big pie. And I don't know whether that's a good thing or a bad thing, but the fact that we're both still standing, especially me, probably with the age that I have, still standing, just celebrating my 47th birthday. But yeah, and hopefully a few more years left in me yet.
yeah. Yeah, yeah, hopefully. We, you were saying about the late nights. I remember being in, Insomniacs when Insomniacs was at, I think it must have been when it was at the corporation, and, I remember standing on the stage. I think I was just about to play, and Superfast Oz was there, and I still remember him saying, "These late nights are gonna catch us. Like, when we're older, we're gonna pay the price." But I think a lot of us have got away with it. Like, I see some people that I went to school with, and I'm like, "Jesus Christ, they look 15 years older than me."
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, a friend of mine who I visited the weekend in Southampton. She was showing me pictures of people that we went to school with. Hopefully, none of them will be watching this. But yeah, exactly the same. I was like, oh my god, like
Mm.
we've done all right considering what we've put our bodies through.
Yeah.
Like I say, I mean, apart from all the grey hair like springing out of my face, yeah, I probably should have looked a lot older. But yeah, maybe there's something in it. Maybe there's something truth in acting young keeps you young. Maybe.
Well, maybe, yeah, yeah. So how did you get into, like, where did your hard house journey begin? Were you, like, into all the music and got into hard house, or was hard house the kind of first thing that you just got into?
So, I mean, I was always really musical at school. Was quite fortunate. My mum and dad were supportive of me, and I always played lots of musical instruments. I used to go to saxophone lessons, passed a couple of grades on saxophone. Um, uh, and my brother was really into Pet Shop Boys. We shared a bedroom, and so like I kind of was like coming through my teenage years, Pet Shop Boys being played all the time, and then he kind of got into the rave scene and would be coming home with like rave tape packs, if you remember them.
Yeah, yeah.
Um, and I think I specifically in like mid-90s time, I was kind of in probably about 13, 14. I remember he had, if I remember right, like a Tony DeVee tape from Helter Skelter or something. And I remember my ears pricking up and you know, kind of I wanted him to take me. He was kind of quite heavily into the rave scene and getting a bit twisted. And obviously he could take me. And then for one reason or another, I left home quite early. And I think by the age of 15, I was kind of footloose, fancy free, wasn't living under my parents' roof, and started going out to the Magnum in Southampton, which was my local gay club. We used to go with my best mate Emma. Um, she turned out being a lesbian. I ended up being gay. And we got taken under the wing by like a group of people at the Magnum. And Chris B of Pants and Corset and Paul King were both residents there. Um, so we'd go there. In those days, the club opened at 10, closed at 2, and we'd all go to parties afterwards. So I think it's kind of one of those just lucky breaks, really, where, um, I'd already had kind of a musical background. I'd already heard of Tony DeVee. I loved it. And then I'm kind of going to this nightclub where Chris B is a friend of Tony's, and Tony come to the club a couple of times. I don't really remember meeting him then, but and then all of a sudden hearing about trade um, and then kind of, at the age of 16, I was going up to London after, going up to trade at the age of 16, which is ridiculous to say that now. That's 30 what years ago. And yeah, and I think being I mean, me and Paul become very, very good friends. And then because I had a bit of a music knowledge, he invited me in the studio with him, started writing tracks. And then my actual first ever gig when I was 17 was, I think it was in the October, and I'm sure it was Trade's birthday night. And I think Paul wanted to have the night off because he wanted to go to Trade, and Chris beat that. So anyway, Paul was like, well, why don't you do the gig at the Magnum? And I think that was my first ever gig. So that was 30 years ago. And so that's kind of how I got in it. And it was just one of those lucky things, really, around the right people. Um, and in the early days, I never really kind of spoke much to Tony, but obviously being in trade, being around all the right people, and especially, I think without Paul King being around, maybe things would have turned out a bit differently. He kind of took me on his wing. The first kind of hard house tracks, Bass Kicks Pumping. I hate saying it, but we wrote a track called Safe Sex, which had a cappella riff in, and that went massive and got into the charts in Belgium. And those were the kind of the first tracks we wrote. So, and that was kind of late 90s. So I was still, really, really.
So Bass Keeps Pumping, that was Overload, yeah?
Yes, it was. Yeah, yeah.
So that's you and Paul King?
Yes, yeah. And nobody
fucking hell, I just thought it was like another pseudonym that Paul had of his own. I didn't realize you were.
Yeah, and but the thing was, I think, I don't know, I think because I was quite young and I was learning, like, I'd go in the studio. Yeah, all the Overload stuff is us.
Right.
Also, Trauma, you'll know, I did that with him as well. But
Right.
I think when you're young and you're learning, for me, it wasn't about sticking my name on stuff. And
Yeah.
and then, we did really well with the Overload stuff. And a lot of it was white label. Paul would press them himself and put some of that out. And I think when Sonic picked up on actually, we called it Jealous Bitch in the end. It was called Jealous Bitch Safe Sex. I can't remember, but it sampled Capella. I don't even remember. But anyway, Sonic picked up on that. She put it on a compilation, Serious Sound of Sonic. And I think I kind of, that was it. Kind of, I got the buzz there. And Paul then kind of was like, right, you need to do something for yourself. You need to get your name out there. And that's kind of where Space Opera come from, really.
Right.
It was the first time where, I'd gone in the studio deliberately to say, right, okay, this is going to be your track. I mean, in the end, we released it as a collab, because even at that stage, Paul was kind of, in the driver's seat, so to speak. I mean, particularly with that track, I was really into all the Reactivate stuff. And I remember going in and going, I mean, because everybody will know what Paul's typical sound is. It was, it was unmistakably Paul King. And then with Space Opera, I'd been kind of listening to stuff on Reactivate and kind of went in with all these kind of darker sounds. And I was like, right, I'm going to do something and put my name to it. So I think that was the first time. That was the first time I'd put my name on a sleeve. But yeah, so that's kind of where it all started, really. And I really strangely, when I released Space Hopper, I think it was the same week, or when Space Hopper came out on Tidy, I had a holiday booked and I went on holiday. And that's where I met my boyfriend, and that's why I moved to Manchester. And he was like, sell your house, you're doing really well with these records, sell your house and start your own record label. And I like to say it was probably a really good decision to do so, because obviously it was Toolbox that I invested in, and that's still going. But I've not yet got back on the property ladder since. I remember Mum saying to me, that's going to be the worst decision you've ever made in your life. And I kind of hate to agree. I think, oh God, now that, quite hard to buy a house now. But, Toolbox is still going. I think the money was quite well invested. But yeah, so that's where kind of Toolbox sprung from as well. So
right,
it kind of for me started happening in 2001. Yeah, so that's kind of where it all started with.
So 2001, you would have been 20, 22?
Yeah.
Yeah. So you had quite a That's quite a time, isn't it? From 15, 16 to 22.
Yeah.
Like, you'd been around a while, hadn't you, by the time?
Yeah, I had, yeah, and so, like I say, if it wasn't for Paul offering me that first gig,
Mm,
I really don't know what would have happened, but, um, so I then become a resident, and, in those days, it wasn't necessarily all about the really banging stuff. You had the
mm.
Sharp Boys, and
Yeah,
it was a gay club, so when I'm talking about Sharp Boys, it was like Sharp Boys remixes of, you know, not Spice Girls, but Jerry Halliwell and, George Michael and stuff like that, and,
yeah,
thrown in with some of the more, um, typical Sharp Boy stuff, and, you had Steve Thomas remixing, and, I mean, even you'll know this, even Tony DeVee started remixing Louise and
uh-huh.
Eternal, and all that, that
Ant and Dec.
yeah. So that's kind of what I was playing, and knowing Paul was really good for me because he would, like, put stuff on CD because I wasn't really playing out. I don't He was like, "Oh, I've just written this today, have this on CD," and then I was playing
Yeah,
stuff.
yeah.
Um, and then there's this really lovely woman called Leslie. She ran a night in Southampton called, Soap, and she was in the Magnum one night, and I'd never heard of Soap, and she come over and give me a business card. She went, "I really want you to play at my night," and, because I've kind of been very, very focused on the Magnum and the Magnum and Trade. That was my weekend every weekend. Anyway, so I went along to see what Soap was all about, and it blew me away. And then before long, I was a resident there. And going back to what I was saying about Paul, Paul would be giving me his tracks that he'd written that day on CD. I'd go around to see him for a cup of tea, and he'd, "Oh, I've just done this, and I've just done this. This is the new one for Jump Wax, or this is the new one for Tripoli, or new one for
Yeah.
Tidy, or this is mine and Chris's new." And I'd be going down to this little um, rave cave well, it's Eastleigh in Southampton, playing all this stuff. And I remember one time, Justin Bourne was there and come up and went, "Where the did you get these tracks from?" Like, how have you got them and I haven't? I know Paul." And I was like, "Well, Paul just gives me his stuff." And, and then it kind of started from there. And yeah, I guess what the rest is history. It kind of just snowballed. I kind of got a really good reputation from being there, started getting bookings elsewhere, ended up playing in the, I don't know if you remember, but Trade used to do the test lounge or the test lab. I played there, got got kind of recognized by the promoter at the time, Jonathan Llewellyn. Uh,
Mhm. Oh,
and
Jonathan, yeah, yeah,
yeah, lovely Jonathan.
yeah.
Funny
Little
as ever.
guy.
Had some right scream to Jonathan. Um,
Yeah.
and then, yeah, kind of dabbled a little bit in Trade, but unfortunately post Turnmills. So although I
Yeah.
did the test lab at Turnmills, um, I was on the same test lab as, Lady Bianca, actually. And
Ah,
then, once Turnmills closed, kind of started doing a few gigs with Trade as well. So,
right.
yeah, and then it all kind of blew up, really, doing High Octane and Vicious events,
Hmm.
Tight Enders and stuff like that. And God, do you know what? That feels like a lifetime ago. And
Yeah.
it's really weird. It wasn't, I don't know, is that a long time ago? Is 2010, 2011 a long time ago? I guess it is 15 years.
15 years is 15 years. My kids weren't born then, so they think it's a long time.
I'm sure they would. Yeah. Um, but yeah, and I remember Vicious starting as well. I
Mm.
don't know, I didn't I didn't know exactly when it started, but I remember kind of Vicious becoming on my radar because I remember you did a remix for me, didn't you, on of Sound of the Underground?
Sounded good. I was listening to that today.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
I put it on one of the reels on the Toolbox Instagram the other day, and I was just like, yeah, but that was short. That was quite close to when you started Vicious, but um, it's really weird how, because I was thinking about this. I was thinking, um, when did we first cross paths? Because I was kind of in this little bubble of, Trade in the gay part of the hard house, um, and there was you and this kind of, it felt like another world almost. And then obviously it all come together just a few years
Yeah.
later. Um,
My first recollection of you is I'm sure like Synergy,
yeah,
Jeremy's night. You would have
yeah,
been
yeah,
around there, wouldn't you? Yeah.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah, I think that's where Ben, I think you must have kind of been in his friend circle, and because I was good friends with him, so it was like, you know,
Yeah,
bit
so
like the, you know, like in Goodfellas, where it's like, oh, he's a good guy, so you just accept, you know, like it was that kind of thing.
yeah, 100%. Yeah, so when I moved to Manchester, about that time, yeah, Synergy was just about started. It was like, and it was massive, wasn't it? It was really, really, really
It
big.
was yeah, incredible. Like I did a back to back with E&M there, and I mean, I used to play there a lot, you know, but yeah, you know, like you said earlier, where there's everything kind of just merges into one, but then
Yeah,
there's a few things that just stand out as you can remember it clearly, you know, like
yeah,
the just little bits, and playing at Synergy, like that, those, because I remember when I first started playing at Synergy, they had CD players weren't a thing, the CDJs weren't a thing, but they had, and I can't remember what they're called, but those CDs where you kind of put it in as if it was like a car player. Oh, no, you press the button, the tray came out, that's it, and then
something
the
like a draw with a
draw.
yeah, yeah.
And the pitch control was, like, vertical like that, you know, like,
Right.
so basically, I used to get it as close as I could, and then I'd just kind of reverse mix with the vinyl. If I had a vinyl and a CD, I never played CD to CD because I just thought it was too risky, like, with this, you know, so I'd have one vinyl, one CD, and then if I knew the CD needed pitching up rather than fucking around with that thing there,
You're on a
I'd ride the pitch on the vinyl and just do it in reverse, you know?
Right.
Um,
Just really quickly, but on that, so when I was going back to what I was saying about Paul giving me CDs, like I couldn't really play vinyl, but when I did the first set, my first ever set was on vinyl, and I like to think it went all right. But because Paul was giving me all the CDs, and same as you, like either clubs didn't have a CD player, or you didn't really trust them because CDs would jump or whatever. So I bought one of those CD players with the drawers and you know, and I used to carry it around
right.
with me in the bag. I used to like every gig I went to, I would take it just in case they didn't have a CD player. Yeah, so that's why I was laughing before because thinking, oh my god, you know how times change. But for me, it was essential because
Mm.
I wanted to play music that nobody else had, that nobody else,
Yeah,
you know,
yeah.
had apart from Paul. So, um, yeah, so and people used to roll their eyes at me as well, be like, "What's that? What are you doing carrying that around?" And also on the side of that would be like a little silver box with like CDs lined up, you know, which I find now hilarious. Thinking, you know, what the hell must I look like walking around with all of this luggage just turning up to DJ? But it got me where I had to get to. So
Yeah. Well, means to an end. Um, so when did you start Toolbox? Was that after, so Space Hopper came out on Tidy in 2001, you said?
yeah, September 2001, I think it was, and I had already um oh, no, actually, it was Space Opera. So, I'd already been having a conversation with a guy called Jay Cox in Portsmouth, which was just down the road from Southampton, and he was messaging, I assume, I can't remember, but on Facebook or something, saying, "Really like the stuff." Um, I think he'd heard me playing at Soap, actually, and he was like, "I really love the sound, you know, I'm writing house music, but do you wanna come down and try and, um, you know, do something that, you know, hard house?" So, um, I was going down to Portsmouth nearly every weekend, and it was kind of like you know, because I'd really heavily relied on Paul King's, you know, knowledge, and like I say, I'd go in and he would leave the studio, but it kind of all of a sudden it was me kind of leading, you know, going in with the samples, going in with the sounds, going in with vocals, and saying, right, okay, well, let's try this, and you know, we did loads of tracks, and I've got, if I listen to them now, I'd be like, "Oh god, that's awful." But we just decided that we just go with it and press them. I can't remember who it was that pressed the vinyl to begin with. But anyway, shortly after Space Opera come out, we launched Toolbox Recordings and pressed our own vinyl. Um, I think it was a distributor called Essential. We'd press the vinyl, pay for it, send it to them, and then obviously if there was any profit at the end. And you know, listening back now, the first few releases, apart from Sound of the Underground, um, you know, I don't know whether I'd even play some of the first few releases because you know, but we were learning, and we had
Well,
a
that's right.
bit of
I mean,
money.
there's stuff on Vicious Circle that I like, the, Vicious Circle 6, um, there's an amazing Karim remix, which I still play, that, Here We Go, but my original track on other side is fucking dog shit. But you're finding your feet. You don't know what you know, like for me, like I not dropped on, but like I did Kick It early on, which is, still being played now, but it doesn't mean you've cracked the code just because you do a good one, early on. You're still trying things and things, at the time you think, oh yeah, that's all right. But then afterwards you're like, oh shit. Like I remember there's a remix I did for a track called Tech It by Sam Reeve. And I still remember being in the studio with Maddox, and there's this little sort of drop we do with the bass line. And at the time, I'm like, oh, I'm not sure if I like it or not. And I said, no, leave it. And then as soon as it came out, I'm like, fuck, I should have changed it. But randomly, right, I don't think I've ever met Sam Reeve in my life.
Right.
I knew the name back in the day.
Yeah.
And then randomly, I played at Lucy Fur did a gig in Birmingham, fucking hell, Brisbane, in November, and
Ben went. Ben over.
yeah, Ben flew over, yeah, and then I did I think I did just before when I went to Brisbane, I went there early and I did a podcast with these guys. What's the BPM is the podcast, and while we were doing the podcast, one of the guys commented on that track. And like I'd not even thought of that track in 20 years. Anyway, 2 hours later, I'm stood in the club, and then Sam Reeve is there because
in Australia.
like he's moved, I think he lives in Brisbane now. Yeah, so like someone introduced it. I'm like, fucking hell! I was talking about you 2 hours ago, and all that happened 20 years before. Like it's nuts.
Do you have any specific examples? Things like that happen to me all the time. When you're talking about someone and they're there, and you're like, wow. I think it's strange when things like that happen. But yeah. Well, Brisbane must be a small place. Or well, the hard house seems a small place in Brisbane.
Well, I guess everybody descended there that night because obviously Ben was over, and yeah, it was a decent event. But it's like the DJ box was super loud, but the main floor you could stand on the dance floor and talk. It just wasn't loud enough.
So
the DJ box,
the sound was coming from the DJ box.
yeah, like the monitor was the loudest speaker in the building.
Which is always bad because if actually something happens to the sound out there, you're never going to know, and then you're just playing to yourself, aren't you?
Yeah, exactly. I always just play to myself anyway. I made a career of it.
All of us do that at some point.
I thought you might find this amusing. I just did a Google search earlier, and I was trying to find out how old you were. There's no. If you put Nik Denton you put Nik Denton, you come up. You put Nik Denton age, and some old guy comes up.
Yeah, I think. Yeah, is he a politician?
I think so. Yeah, so something like that. Yeah, but anyway, when you search Nik Denton, and it came up with also searched Ben Stevens, Paul Glazby, Andy Farley, and then Paul King, but not our Paul King. You know the guy, Love and Pride? It was him.
Oh no, poor Paul. He deserves. Yeah, it's funny though, isn't it? Because yeah, I see that. Well, yeah, people also search for those kind of things come up, and it's all the same collective of people, isn't it? So it's
that's right. Yeah.
Strange how that information gets pulled because I haven't really done much over the last few years, so but I guess it's still we're all linked somehow, aren't we?
Yeah, we always will be. Yeah. And then Toolbox Digital, like I could be wrong, but looking back, it seems like you were quite forward thinking in the whole digital space. Would that be right?
Yes. I mean, it's all a bit cloudy. Probably chosen to forget some of it, but like I said, I sold my house in Southampton, had a lot of money in the bank. Started Toolbox Recordings, and I decided that why am I giving the vinyl to someone else to sell? I may as well start selling it myself. So I got a little office around the corner from where I lived in Manchester, and started Toolbox Distribution. So that I can't really remember. It must have been early 2000s when I moved to Manchester, or shortly after. I'd say about 2003 when Toolbox distribution started. And then you'll know this because we sold some records for you. But, we started I started making phone calls, we're selling Toolbox to all these record shops. Do you want us to do the same? That's when Ben come and started working for me. And then in 2008, which is the bit that I choose to kind of forget, I think, is when the financial crash happened. And there was a hint that things were going to go wrong. One by one, all the record shops we were selling to all over the world in Europe, and all of a sudden weren't paying their bills, or more customers were asking for credit. They wanted to stop without paying for it. So we both kind of had a bit of an inkling, and then the financial crash happened, and then I kind of ended up with all this stock that had gone out, no money coming back in for it, and still record labels to pay, and it wasn't a limited company. So I think that was kind of the catalyst, really, to say, well, we're still going to do this. And I can't remember if we'd already started the process, but it was kind of like, it kind of felt like a nail in the coffin for that, physical product, especially for us as a business model. So I think we probably had already started to think about starting Toolbox Digital. And we'd been doing, I don't know if you remember, we did something called the Hard Heart, where we were sending out promos from record labels, which was we kind of started moving that, I think, as a digital product as well. So yeah, you're right. I mean, we'd kind of thought, I think my thought process was a bit like the vinyl. Why am I going to give it to somebody else to sell when I could do it myself? Because as we all know, the more people in the chain, the less money there is. And I'm kind of taking the risk of selling my home. And I thought, well, if I can sell the product directly to the public without having a distributor or anyone else involved, then surely that means it's going to be more sustainable. And then if I'm honest, when I was running it, it was a bit more of an experiment. It wasn't really. I don't feel. I think it felt like a bit of a learning curve. It was all kind of, let's see how this goes. Stuart Moore, Stuart M, as people will know him, he was really instrumental in making that happen. He built it, and I believe still does the tech backs of it. And then kind of me and Ben come to agreement that he would take it on board and take over. But I think that was kind of I decided, because of all of the money that I'd lost through the distribution of the vinyl and the hard product, I felt like I needed to remove myself a little bit from, put my head down, I paid everyone the money that was owed from, the debt that I got into. But I think kind of giving it, if I remember right, letting Ben kind of take the reins just kind of gave me a bit more freedom to look at other things. You do more on the gay scene, and as you all know, get more into the house scene. I kind of started playing more in London and going to play at Beyond and doing Federation and touring around with a lot of the bigger gay brands in the UK. So, and earning quite good wages, but paying off the money that kind of a lot of places left me in debt for. But knowing all the while that Ben would look after Toolbox Digital, and he's done a really good job of it. So So in short, yes.
Well, I mean, you said it's like a learning curve, but it would have been for everybody, because it was like a new thing, wasn't it? Like back then, like selling, because we had that phase of, I've probably spoken about this before, but I just remember when the MP3 thing started coming in, and obviously it was impacting record sales. But I just remember being in Leeds one night, and I played a track that I'd done like the week before, and I used to send my stuff to like Farley. I can't even remember. It was like literally a hand. Sorry?
Probably Ben.
Yeah, but like a handful of people.
Yeah.
But then if one of those people give it to somebody else, that person cares less than this person.
Oh,
and then that person will give it to 5 people, and then they care even less, and they each give it to 5 people. And some kid came up, it was just like some random kid, like off his face. He's like, "Oh yeah, I've got that one." I'm like, "What the fuck?"
Yeah,
Um,
that's happened to me.
yeah.
And actually, yeah. Have you ever lost USBs with stuff on that people
No.
that people shouldn't have, and then you hear them playing it in clubs, you're like, "Yeah, okay. Yeah, I wonder where you've got that from." But yeah, it's, yeah, but it is all a learning curve. Yeah.
Mm. Yeah.
It changed
Um,
digital changed everything, didn't it? But just really interestingly as well, and I didn't know this, but I've been speaking to our distributor, um, and Beatport recently, to do with my house record label, and, I can't remember who it was who started Beatport, but it was definitely someone with someone that I knew on the hard house scene. So I can't remember his name, but it was someone who I used to DJ with in Brixton. But anyway, he said to me, "I'm gonna start this digital platform." And I guess that's probably where I got my idea from. But, I didn't know this, but Toolbox, was the 6th label to ever sign up to Beatport. And I'm like, "What? The 6th ever label in the whole world to sign up to Beatport?" And,
wow.
so, yeah, so I guess in answer to your question, I think as well, before going back to the thing, I think that's probably where my idea sprung from because I knew someone else was doing it. But,
Mm.
that's just come to me now.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah. Well, yeah, I mean, I remember, like, I've got, like, vague recollections at that time thinking, "Why didn't I think of that?" You know? But, yeah, I always remember you being, like, at the forefront of that whole digital thing, so, yeah, it was pretty impressive. Um,
And again, sorry to interrupt, but it just feels like a blur. It just feels like,
yeah.
I mean, now if I was to do something like, and it's something that I was thinking about, like building a new website and
Mm.
offering downloads directly to the public. But now at this age and with everything else going on, like, I just feel like it would be a massive project. I don't think I'd ever pull it off. And in those days, it all just happened and it just all feels like a blur. And it's like, on top of that, running record labels and DJing and everything, I'm just like, how on earth did I do all of that? Where did it all come from? And but
Right.
ahead of talking to you, like just looking around, it's just unbelievable how these things happen, and I think sometimes it goes by without you even noticing that that it happened or what effort you put in. But yeah, um, I guess I should be proud.
Oh, yeah, you should. I mean, a lot of us should. Like, I think that's the thing, that, like, that youthful energy and passion, and especially because I remember actually being in Sunday Central once, Sunday Central Leeds, and I was talking to, uh, what the good grief guys called, Barry and, Ben, and I'd
Yeah,
been talking to, I think it was Barry that I was talking to, and it was just, some general conversation, but I remember finishing the conversation and then just having this moment where I thought, "Fuck, this music has given me, this DJ career, but these guys, that's it. We've been talking about the flyer distribution company. It was something about that, and then I just had this moment where I'm like, this music that we all love has given me a DJ, and you and everybody else. These guys, they're not DJs, they're promoters, but they're making a living as a promoter. We're in Sunday Central, so obviously Madders and Danny were making a living
yeah,
from
yeah,
what they were doing. This flyer distribution company it was a business putting flyers out for music events, and it was just like I was kind of thinking of all the people that are making a living just
yeah,
because of this particular type of music. And then obviously, there's other genres that would be the same again. But yeah, it was just like an amazing sort of moment where I was like, I just realized how big it all was. That would have been 2000 and probably 2006, something like that.
yeah. It's crazy.
But
I mean, and unfortunately, it does feel like it's got smaller, and I don't think people's love for it's got smaller. I just think certainly here in Manchester, there's less clubs. A lot of them. Sankey's have actually just reopened a basement club, but most of the clubs we would have gone to here in Manchester, a lot of them are gone. So it kind of when you were saying that, then I was thinking, well, yeah, like the amount of business that or the amount of people that have made careers out of this industry is unbelievable. But it does unfortunately feel like, I mean, there is a resurgence. That's definitely for sure. But it does feel like maybe we were, in a really good era where we were able to make careers out of it. I don't know whether, especially with streaming being as big as it is, and we know that the revenue from artists making money from that's a bit less. I don't know whether we were in an era where we were able to do that, and whether there's still opportunity for people to become what we will become out of one particular sound. But
yeah. Well, I mean, there's this whole new, there's kind of like two hard scenes at the minute. There's ours, and then there's the younger ones, and
but it's weird actually, because like I'm sure we'll come on to the Toolbox event, but on deciding whether to do the Toolbox event, I was talking to Ross, and he's gone out to a couple of events where I didn't know any of the names of the DJs. I'd never seen anything advertised, but he was like, "Oh yeah, they're hard house events." And so then when I was talking to him about the event, or even doing anything for Toolbox 25, which would have been a disaster if I didn't. But he was saying exactly the same. There's two scenes now, Nick. You've got these young up and coming producers, DJs, but they don't connect with who we would recognize as the hard house industry. And I guess that will boil down to social media and are building their own audience through clever clever posts and clever videos, I guess.
Well, that's when I was back in the UK in October, November last year. I'd not seen Lee. Lee Haslam came on the podcast last year, but I'd not spoken to Lee in years. And I said, mate, when I'm back, I'll because he lives in Doncaster and I'll stay in Sheffield when I'm back. So it's literally like 20 minutes. So I went to see him. But he manages a couple of these newer acts. That he was saying it's all about the social media presence now, because because a lot of these events, I mean, I could be wrong, but I'm pretty sure what Lee was saying is that, it might be like Heineken that are doing the event. It's like a massive corporate thing. It's not like a promoter like you or Jeremy or even, Madders and Danny. It's like these corporate events that they've then got, 5, 10, 20,000 young kids. But when I see the videos, and again, I'm just seeing little snippets, so it could be I could be getting a completely skewed view of it, but it doesn't look like the kind of events that the music's very similar, like the BPMs and the energy and stuff. The structure of the tracks to me sounds a bit more like hard style, but with like a hard house groove to it, because it's this little short breakdown, then it just pounds back in. There's no like Paul King 3-minute build-ups that we like.
7 minutes. 10 minutes. Yeah. I mean, that's I've heard of Girls Don't Think. No. So they've been doing
Sync with a Y.
Yeah, they were on the front page of DJ Mag actually recently. They're kind of really pushing. I would put them in this category of who we're talking about, and their tracks are quite short, but definitely sound like hard house. But it seems to happen a lot quicker, and then through discovering them, I've kind of gone on a little bit of a rabbit hole of looking who else is doing it, and but it's definitely the same sound. It just seems to be, but then I think that's a lot to do with the younger generation. They have as much concentration, and definitely through working in a gay nightclub and also playing in a gay nightclub. You can't play tracks longer than 4 or 5 minutes anymore, because people just stop dancing. They want to hear something fresh and I think that's kind of down to TikTok, I guess. Just scrolling and listening to new stuff. They just they don't know. So maybe that's the key to becoming mega rich and mega famous. Shorter tracks, Paul.
Yeah. Well, I got sent, and this again going back to like the technology and how it's all moved on. I saw John Langford posted that he'd done an update. You remember Turn That Fucking Music Up that he did?
Yeah. My God.
So amazing. Yeah. So him and BK have done a 2026 update.
Right.
And so I just messaged her, said, mate, would you mind sending it to me? 2 seconds later, boom, it's there. Downloaded it, put it on my USB, and then I'm in I've not had decks at home for me and Ben Stevens worked it out. We think it was about 2003, 2004, where I moved house and I didn't bother taking the decks with me. So I've not had decks at home for over 20 years. But now I'm like back into everything. I wanted to be able to have a mix. So I bought one of those Pioneer controllers. So I've got that set up in my garage is just a big gym, so I've got a little section there with the deck setup. It was just incredible. He's in England, I'm in Australia, sends me the track, and I'm playing it 5 minutes later, you know. But when I put it on and the tracks, I think it's 5 minutes long. Because they don't need the intro and the outro because they just use the loop function.
But yeah, so no, exactly, yeah. Yeah, but if you used to play it as the 5-minute track, by the time you've mixed in, you get ready to mix back out again, aren't you?
Well, that's right, yeah, yeah. But I used to be like that with 7-minute tracks, so I've got no time anymore.
Yeah. I think that was my downfall. No, actually, no, yeah. I mean, because of Paul King stuff, I used to, do quite long mixes, but, I don't know why, but I think when I was in that little bubble, going back to what I was saying, when I was in the bubble of playing on the gay scene or around people that I knew in Southampton, I was quite comfortable. But when I started going out and playing in a different environments, I used to get nervous quite a lot. And
Right.
yeah, so I'd go from playing Paul King stuff and mixing really long mixes, and then in new environments, I'd be like, I need this mix to be over. I just want it done, and because I didn't want to fuck up, then, or if I'm allowed to swear. Yeah, I didn't want to mess up, and so I'd kind of mix a bit quicker, and yeah, but I wouldn't have that option now with the shorter tracks if that's what you're
Yeah.
going.
Well, I had a bit of a realization. I was talking. I can't remember who it was that was on, but we were talking about mixing and the whole sort of performance thing of a DJ. And I thought, shit, maybe I mix like I did or do because I didn't want to be animated. I just wanted to be like busy doing stuff all the time. So maybe that's why I just was always just mixing in quick, like, and just
I
being
feel
busy in
that.
the mix.
Well, I know what you're saying, but also I think we're from an era um, where people didn't really look up. They didn't. Well, I don't
That's
know.
exactly
Especially
right.
with me, I think it was more about the music, wasn't it? And I think seeing the DJ doing that was part of the. I want to say turn.
Experience, yeah.
A lot of terminology, but if you went to trade at Turnmills, they'd be in a box with a little window. You wouldn't
Yeah.
necessarily, that was kind of what we all. And where the club where I'm in, the DJ box used to be up in the roof, and same in the Magnum where I started off playing. The DJ was up there; you could see anything. And I think
Yeah.
over time that's changed. So, I mean, do you feel pressure to perform now? Because I slightly do. I feel like um, even though our audience might still be people that were around, 20 years ago, I think there is a bit more pressure to look like you're performing.
I
I
think if you saw a video of me at Insomniac's, I'm just guessing, but if you saw me at Insomniac's 26th birthday compared to me at Insomniac's back in 2001, I probably am a little bit more animated. But I think it's because I'm seeing people and going, "Fucking hell, we're still alive. We're still here."
how depressing that you actually say, "Your God, you're still alive." We're in that age. But yeah, so uh, shorter tracks are the way forward and being more animated.
Okay, right. I'll make a note and see how I go. So it's your 30-year anniversary. You
Yeah.
told me, is that right? Which is
Yeah,
incredible.
yeah. So like I say, October, when I was 17, I remember. I know that. So I remember because the manager of the club gave me fake ID to be able to get in to work.
Ah,
So yeah, I wasn't 18. I was just a few months away from being 18. So yeah, so October will be officially the 30 years. But I'm kicking off. I'm going to play Encoded in May down in Birmingham, which
mm,
um Wayne approached me. Well, I think when he started to see I was doing some stuff with Toolbox, he was like, "Mate, need to get you down." And I kind of mentioned to him that, right, well, I've not really taken any other bookings, so maybe that'd be a good time to start doing something for my 30 years. So the plan is, I've not any time to do it, is to kind of do a bit of a tour and run it from like I say May through to October, November, maybe into beginning of next year. But yeah, 30 years,
wow.
long time.
The club that you started at, is that club still there or is it sort of gone?
No, it's funny actually because I went home to see my family the weekend and uh, took my new boyfriend with me to meet the parents, and we were doing a little bit. My mum and dad wanted to show me the all the sights of Southampton, which there aren't really many. But yeah, we were driving around, and my dad actually pointed out. We went, "Oh, that's where you used to play down there, isn't it, Nick?" And no, it's a takeaway restaurant now. They seem to have knocked
No.
the bottom floor, and there's yeah.
Right.
I thought, nah, it's a bit sad. There is another gay club across the road that I used to play at, but no, it's not there. Such a shame.
Mm.
In fact, when I moved to Manchester, my boyfriend who convinced me to sell my house, he actually was going to buy the Magnum. I used to go down and DJ, and he'd come with me because I'd obviously moved up here, so we'd do little car journeys down there. Sometimes a group of us go down, play in Southampton, and come back. So when the club went up for sale, he actually considered buying it very seriously, looked into all the financials, and he was good friends with Ben Ambonza, actually. Do you remember Heath?
Heath, yeah.
Yeah, Heath, yeah. So Heath was going to buy the Magnum, but because he didn't, ended up closing.
So you and Heath were together?
Yeah, from that's why I moved to Manchester. Yeah, 2000.
Bloody hell! I never knew that. Is it Heath that looked like? Doesn't he look? Maybe we can edit this. Doesn't he look like that German referee?
Yes. Now he's got a massive big beard now, but yeah, no,
Right.
exactly. Yeah. So yeah, I met Heath on holiday, moved to Manchester for him, sold my house,
Right.
and then he was going to buy the Magnum, but and I think Ben actually come down to Southampton with us a few times as well. So yeah, in those early days, yeah. So, but again, it's all a bit of a haze.
Bit of a haze, yeah. So you've got a big event coming up by the time this comes out in about 3 weeks. Yeah, 2 or 3 weeks. So the event's on the 21st?
Saturday 21st. We're kicking off at 5 p.m. And it's at what I call our Toolbox's spiritual home, but it's actually the downstairs of the club that I work at full time, down in Sub 101. I think you played there, haven't you? You played Sub 101?
Yes.
Yeah. So I didn't actually remember this, but when I was speaking to Stuart M recently, he pointed out that I did Toolbox's 3rd birthday there. And I couldn't remember doing that. And I was like, wow. He actually showed me the flyer, and I was like, that is like insane that I can't remember doing it. But yeah, so we did the 3rd birthday there, obviously 22 years ago. And so we're going back. We did the 20th birthday there. We did it a little bit late with Vicious and Synergy, actually. A little bit late because of COVID. But so yeah, we're back at Sub 101 for the birthday.
Nice. And so there's you, let's see if I can guess. You, Ross Thompson, Ben Stevens, Adam M.
Yeah.
That's all I can remember. Who else?
Yeah, it's a memory game, not a guess game. Yeah. Paul King's coming up.
Paul King. Sorry, of course. Yes, the King.
Jojo, and then I've got Amptax playing, and then I've booked a couple of DJs. There's a new night starting in Manchester called Fuel, and they are also going to be at Sub. So I've put a couple of their DJs on to promote their event, basically.
Nice.
They're both really lovely. DJ Fergie, but not the Fergie, and DJ Soft.
How does he get away with that?
I don't know. It's spelled differently. So I remember when I first teased it, actually, I put it out, and he was on the first announcement, and I put it down as Fergie, and it was not intentional, and I didn't even think about it. And then somebody put on the comment, went, "Wow, Fergie," and I was like, ouch, no, that's not what I want. I don't want people thinking it's Fergie. But I love Fergie, but it's not going to be. They'll be disappointed if they're thinking it's the Fergie. So, but yeah, so I've changed it to DJ Fergie and put Fuel behind it, which actually makes far more sense because he's one of their main residents. And so I mean, I've always tried to get some local people on board. I think that's the right thing to do. You know, it could be all headliners or big names from the scene, but and I'm not saying they're not big names, but they are local DJs, and I think it's quite important to do that.
Support. But I mean, if you've got like you, Paul King, Ben Stevens, Adam M, I mean, that's a pretty solid lineup. So it's good.
Yeah, really looking forward to it. So I've kind of got a little bit trigger happy with the lineup, and I've booked too many DJs. So we're actually going to be staying open a little bit longer.
All right. I thought you said you were doing 45-minute sets.
Yeah, well, yeah, and that's not what I wanted to do. So no, we're all doing an hour. Going to open till 3 o'clock. And one of the benefits of being the promotions manager of the venue itself means I can just adjust everything else around that. So,
Yeah.
so the party's going to be longer, and then we're going to go straight into an after party, which um, almost feels like we're going to be doing things in reverse. But we're going to go into an after party with Paul, Ross, and myself doing a trade style Sharp Boy stroke Steve Thomas type,
Okay.
all the way through to 8 in the morning. So what's that? That's almost like 15 hours in total. It's a long
Wow.
night.
Mm.
Yes.
And is that a separate event, or when people buy a ticket, they get access to that as well?
Yeah, they could just stay. Yeah, so we'll just basically just run all the way through. The difference between the Toolbox event and the after party is the doors will swing open, and anyone coming in from the streets or upstairs into the main club, which is Cruise 101, they'll be able to come down and
Right.
and join the party. So whoever's left can carry on. Yeah. So yeah, I'm really excited about it. I think I said earlier, I mean, my job running the club 6 nights a week is really quite intense. So it kind of hit me. I think it was probably about September time last year. I was like, Toolbox is 25 next year,
Mm.
and I kind of sat on the idea for quite a while. And I think the first person I mentioned to was Ross. I was like, I really should do something. But I think I said this earlier, but do you think I'm going to be like literally barking up the wrong tree with it? And I'm confident that's not the case. The tickets have been on sale. Tickets have so far going pretty good, and I just feel like it's going to be. I mean, Sub's an amazing space. It's kind of really since I've been there doing the job for the last 4 years, it's grown into a. It probably does need a little bit of a tidy up, but it's grown into a proper little rave cave. The sound system's always been tweaked. The lasers are amazing. It's a really good place to lose yourself. So yeah, I'm really excited.
Awesome. Well, good luck with it, mate. And yeah, I mean, thanks for the last 30 years, really. I mean, I think it can often be overlooked how much impact some people have on the scene, because there's certain people that always get which they deserve, like Tidy Boys or BK, but there's a lot of others that the stuff that gets done kind of cements everything in the
background.
the
Yeah,
background.
I
Yeah.
always thought that. And a lot of people do say to me, "You should be, why you're not bigger than you are," or, and I'm not on about my body size. Yeah, why you're not bigger than you are, or why don't we see you everywhere? And I guess kind of the answer to that is some people have their head down just doing stuff, and then other people are quite good at having their head up and getting noticed a bit more.
Yeah.
But what I will say is I think definitely reconnecting with Toolbox and doing this event, and kind of I've kind of I've got that fire in my belly for it again now. So I think this time, I'm not saying that I've not obviously not been involved, but because there's always been with Lucy running Toolbox, I've always kind of had that dabbled in it a little bit, but I've been off doing other stuff. But this time round, I feel like I've got a fire in my belly, and I've learned a lot by running a nightclub and running Toolbox House, that actually I probably can do the heads down, but also do the heads up. So we'll see what happens. I'm very excited. I'm very excited about where Toolbox is going. We've got brand new releases coming up. Got new Toolbox 25 USB and plans for bringing back lots of old Toolbox stuff. You remember the toolkits, and remember when we did our album Toolbox V with the collaborations?
Yeah.
In Paranoid. I want to do that again later this year, and I definitely want to do some more events as well. So I've got this fire in my belly at the moment, and it feels like all the stars are aligned for me to go, right, okay, this year's the right year to kind of yeah raise my head up and get things going again. And actually, I don't know if you agree with this. And I didn't know this was the case, but Sharp Boys seem to be back, and there seems to be a bit of a it feels like something's brewing. People seem to have a bit of energy about it all again, and I don't know whether I'm seeing that because I've been doing other stuff, but it feels like people are paying attention to hard house again.
Certainly. I mean, like, I had no idea that there was this kind of resurgence. So I think some people think I started this podcast because of this wave of thinking. Like, I had no idea. This podcast wasn't even music related when it started. It was completely different, and it was only through
What was
people.
it?
Well, it was called When I Grow Up, and it was talking to people about stories of, how they got to where they are in life. Because I was just talking to somebody one day, and I told them, I used to be an international DJ, then I was a personal trainer, then I ended up in New Zealand, and then came to Australia, and then, through one thing and another, I ended up being a real estate agent. You're like, "What the fuck? That's so random." And then the idea of the podcast was actually I was gonna promote it locally so that people could tune in, listen to these stories that would hopefully be interesting, and then over time, hear me as a real estate agent, like, and go, "Oh, he's just like a normal guy. Like, if I'm gonna sell my house, I'll use that guy." That was kind of
Right.
the purpose of it. But then Maddox came on, Ben Stevens came on, then Lashes came on, then the Tidy Boys came on, and Rob Tessera and Steve Hill, and by the time we got to just before I came back to England, I was talking to Matt, and I'm like, "We've only got one episode left that we've recorded that's not music related, and all the guests I've got lined up moving forward are all music related.
Right.
Let's just lean into it." So that's when Hard House History, we pivoted to that, and yeah, that's it. But it's just kind of right place, right time, and then my passion for it's back. Like, I'm in the studio. We've had a bit of a break over Christmas, but like, I'm in the studio with Ali Wilson next week. I've got Frank Farrell the week after. It might be the other way around. Um, I've got about 12 or 13 tracks that I've done since I've been back. Um, and yeah, and where, in fact, I'll announce it now, Nick. You can be the first to hear.
Wow.
We're going to do a Hard House History label, because I don't know if you remember
Amazing.
years ago we had Neonate. Do you remember Neonate? That label
Yeah,
that
yeah,
did
yeah.
the more techno stuff. Yeah, so
Yeah.
that's coming back. We've got 4 or 5 releases lined up for that.
Wow.
But we had a label called Resurrection.
Yeah.
Yeah, so Hard House History is essentially going to be what that was. It's just license, some favorite old tracks, do a remix, and so I'm kicking myself because the Yum Yum remix that's coming out on Vicious Circle would have been perfect but I only thought of it the other day. So yeah, we've got some ideas around that. So that's going to be back, and that'll just help add to the brand of what we're doing. And
Yeah, but going back to what you just said, it's like you doing this puts you in the same category as what I was doing. It's kind of head down doing something in the background. I mean, I know it's a bit different because you are on screen, but you know, you doing this may be kind of contributing to people going, wow, we're talking about something. People are interested in it. People are interested in the history. Why are we not still doing this? And why are we not, where are these people that they're talking about? And,
yeah,
you contributed to, and it all kind of ends up becoming part of the story, doesn't it? So,
yeah,
no, I think it's a really good idea having the label as well. So, you have to consider me for a remix, mate.
nice. I'll put you down.
Like you, I've got a few bits. I've got a few studio dates booked in. Got a couple of tracks coming out with Ross. And do you know what? I'm absolutely loving doing it again. I'm sure you're the same. It's just that
I am.
I think when you haven't done it for a bit. I mean, I've been doing house music, not very much, but a couple of 2 or 3 releases a year. But really, 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 really enjoying it. And actually, on my way to work yesterday, I was listening to some stuff, and I just found myself grinning in the car, and I thought, "Oh my God, I've not felt like this for a while." I'm like, trying to just listen to some older stuff for ideas, and yeah, I feel like not just me and you. I feel like there's a lot of people out there feeling the same about it at the moment.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. Well, mate, on that note, thank you for your time. Thanks for coming on. Thanks for everything you've done for, all of us in the scene, and it sounds like you're gonna keep doing so. But definitely let's try and I've said this to a lot of people. I thought that when someone came on this podcast that'd be it. They come on once, to tell the story, and then that's it. But E&M came on, and there's 20 minutes. I live about 20 minutes away from where we are now, and when I got home, he'd sent me a message saying, "Can I come on again?" So, but the second time he came on was completely different, because it's not like, "So Ian, how did you
Yeah,
start?" We were
yeah.
just talking shit for an hour. Um, and then after that one, he messaged, he said, "Can we do a part 3?" So hopefully he's gonna come on again. But what I'm saying is, there's no reason why we can't do this again at some
Well,
point.
I'm playing around with the idea of doing around about October time, like a 30-hour set ish in some
Jesus.
shape or form to celebrate 30 years. It's a kind of loose idea at the moment. So if I do feel like I can do that, then I might be dropping you a message to see if we can talk about it.
Okay, let's do it. Nick,
And
thanks, mate.
and
Oh,
actually,
go on.
before you go,
Yeah.
yeah, me and Lucy are talking about me coming over and maybe Ross in November do a Toolbox night over there. So
Oh, perfect.
maybe we get to see you.
Yeah, come to my place. We'll play pool and make pizzas.
Yeah, sounds really, really good. Thanks, Paul. It's been really great.
Nice one, mate.
Take care.
You take care. Thanks,
Bye.
man.
You are listening to Hard House History with Paul Glazby.